Joining us now, Alfredo Ortiz. Alfredo is the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network. He's been on a mission with the Hispanic community. He was on Fox the other day, and he's predicted that Trump is going to get 40% of the Hispanic vote, and he's joining us now. Alfredo Ortiz, great to have you with us.
Hey, John, good morning. Great to be on your show as always. Thank you.
Healthcare.gov, Job Creators Network is one that's been behind this. It's Elaine's baby, Elaine Parker. She's the, I wouldn't say her baby, but she's been at the forefront of it, so it's kind of her baby. And Elaine is the president of the Job Creators Foundation. I'm going to get to that in a minute and some of the issues that surround it. But when you talk to the Hispanic community, and I saw you on Fox the other day, great job, by the way. This impeachment thing, are you getting any questions from your friends in the community? Are they getting concerned about it? I know you don't want to get into the specifics of it, but just give me the reaction.
People are just tired of it. They just want to move on with the business that really matters, which is their business, right? This impeachment thing is just getting old. I mean, that's the bottom line. I think everybody's just tired about hearing about it. Let's move on. Let's make sure we do what we need to do, but move on with it. I think everybody sees it for what it is now, which is just really another failed attempt by the Democrats to bring down the president. And I think people are just, beyond it now and just want to move past it and, again, focus on their business, which is really what drives their family incomes, their livelihoods, et cetera. And so I think overall, the American public is kind of in that spot.
Well, I want to tie into what you said, and I think people are tiring of it. But look, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Unfortunately,
yes, and it's going to go on. That's why Bannon launched a show on the John Fredericks Radio Network, War Room Impeachment. We just played episode 2. Episode 3 today is at 9 a.m. trying to fight back because a lot of us are concerned that the White House comms team really doesn't have the personnel in there to be able to run what you would call a war room, as I know you're very familiar with. On Fox the other day, you said that there's a study that shows that Latino-owned businesses are flourishing under Trump's economic policy. So we talked about Latino employment, Latino income going up. Now you're talking about Latino-owned businesses growing under the Trump economy. Can you elaborate on that, Alfredo?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great state. It's an organization, I think it's based in New York, but it's called Biz to Credit. And they showed that Hispanic-owned businesses are just experiencing amazing growth under the Trump economy. So last year, for example, this year, what they found is that Latino business owners are enjoying almost a 50% jump in revenues. And what makes that amazing, it's on top of last year, which was a 25% jump. So 25% jump last year and then another 50% jump this year in revenues for Latino-owned businesses. And, bottom line is, why is that? I mean, the lowering of the tax rate and the lowering of red tape and regulations in this country, which has been, the hallmark of the Trump economy since he came in office, those are the real drivers. And the only thing that the Democrats are promising is to reverse all that by raising taxes and increasing government regulation. And so, this is why I say that, quite frankly, I think Hispanic business owners in particular, but Hispanics overall, are going to realize that the Democrats are really not their friends, and they're going to pretty much hurt everything that they're enjoying right now, which is what I mentioned, is you have record low unemployment. You got Hispanic median income reaching record highs in 2018. Poverty rates have declined at some of the most rapid clips ever. And, all this can go away. I mean, when you even look at, for example, home ownership, this is an amazing thing. On the home ownership front, Hispanics were responsible for nearly 2/3 of the net home ownership gains in 2018. Think about that. 2/3 of the overall net home ownership gains in 2018 were due to Hispanics. And so they're feeling great. And so, again, this is where I'm calling, and everybody's saying I'm crazy, but I'm saying 38 to 40%. When we wake up Wednesday morning, and we know that we have reelected President Trump to a second term, a big chunk of that reason is going to be because Hispanics put him there.
I think you're right. Look, but we got a long time between now and then. Meantime, some of the Democrats now starting to complain, Alfredo, that nothing is getting done. We have a couple in Virginia. One of them, right. Abigail Spanberger, complaining yesterday, I think it was in the Washington Post or Politico or something, saying, I'm getting concerned because I understand we have to go forward with this process and get the facts, but, we're working on stuff. Nothing is getting done. Bobby Scott told me the same thing. He's a chairman of committee. Nothing is getting done. Right? So we're not getting USMCA. Right. We're not getting tax cut 2.0. We're getting nothing except these impeachment hearings every day that's sucking the oxygen out of the room. How's it going to?
Take that, John. Just USMCA for just 1 second. You take that alone. That's expected to add 1% GDP growth, 1 entire point of GDP growth passing USMCA, right? But it's just stalling out in the House because Pelosi doesn't want to give Trump a win on this one, and so it's stalling out. It's just really ridiculous what you're doing there because this is something that's going to benefit everybody on this continent, right? Canada, the U.S., Mexico, all aim to benefit from this new trade deal. Yet it's sitting there on Pelosi's desk. She refuses to take it to the House floor for a vote.
Because they don't take anything for a vote. Look, they've only got 7 days. What did you just say? Repeat that. 1% GDP growth?
1% GDP growth is expected because of the USMCA deal. Think 1%. About that. It's ridiculous. She's sitting on it. She's sitting on doing nothing with it.
It's unbelievable. So we're going to harm the American economy and harm farmers and harm other people that would benefit from the trade deal. Look, even the government of Mexico said, what's the deal? Pass the damn thing. Everybody wants it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The president of Mexico basically said, guys, what is the holdup up there? We're good with it. Canada's good with it. Why aren't you guys good with it?
Exactly. All right, look, I want to talk about your health care plan when I get back, but the USMCA thing is almost criminal behavior, and there's only 7 days, and obviously they're not going to get it done in 7 days. It's not even on anybody's docket. Unbelievable. With us is Alfredo Ortiz. He's the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network. And the Job Creators Network Foundation, Alfredo, last week launched a health care plan, which the Republicans were unable to do after years of promising they had one. They didn't have squat, as you know. So you guys developed it. And so I just want to take one element of it because it came up today, which is lowering drug prices. And the only thing Pelosi has done is she's put forth a plan that the Republicans have just absolutely blasted because it's just more government control. In your plan to get drug prices down, you guys say that you want to return savings back to the patients instead of middlemen, saying that $250 billion per year goes to middlemen. So what would you do in order to return that $250 billion back to lowering prices? How would that work?
Yeah, John. Basically, there's a drug rebate program, effectively, that's out there, and it's this convoluted system that basically encourages retail prices to actually go up, right? For prices that people charge on the pharmacies, not pharmacies, but the pharma companies actually charge. It actually encourages that to go up because then it rebates it back to what we call the middlemen, right? Which are in DC terms they're called pharmacy benefit managers. And across the country. And the problem is that when you really look at this, it's about a $250 billion issue that's been created, right? A $250 billion monster. And those rebates aren't going back to the patient, right? They really are going back to what I call the system overall, big medicine. And that's what needs to stop. And so there are ways from a regulation standpoint, basically, that we can stop that. And make sure that those dollars come back to the patients. And that's a big, big part. But that's just one part of many reforms that can be done. And one thing that you mentioned is that, this is all we really have done is we're channeling basically the input of 25,000 voters. We did market research and went out and spoke about 25,000 inputs talking to American voters about how we can reform and what people are looking for in the healthcare system and their insurance. And so really what we're reflecting is really the will of the people, which, by the way, John, is probably the first time this has actually been done because usually all the healthcare reform, whether it's been from left or the right, it's just about D.C. think tanks, lobbyists, and bureaucrats that have put it together. This one's from the American people, by the American people.
Well, because you guys actually went to the people that it would affect rather than the lobbyists, the corporate entities, the donors, and the bureaucrats, right? You actually went to the people that it would affect their life. What a novel idea.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
go
small
to the
business
people.
owners, right? The patients,
right,
and the physicians, which, you know, it's really kind of scary, John, to see what's happening out there. It's, you know, the latest numbers now that we're seeing, and I've been talking to other folks about it, so maybe up to now 60% of all physicians out there are what we call payroll physicians, right? They're basically employees of the hospitals, right? So ask yourself the question, are they really going to be advocating for you or for the hospital interests, right? And I think even the doctors that are within that system are frustrated because their hands are tied, right? Because they get a W-2 employee, right? They're paycheck employees. And so, you know, this is really tough. So the idea of, you know, kind of that independent doctor advocating for you, it's just going away. The one thing that I can promise you that's going to happen next year, if the Democrats, you know, end up taking control, is this Medicare for all idea, which is just going to destroy choice, and the doctor-patient relationship is going to eliminate private health insurance for 200 million Americans, and it really is going to put more D.C. bureaucrats and politicians in charge. That's what's going to happen.
So, Alfredo, let me ask you this: when you said that 60% of doctors are now working for hospitals, right? Because this is a shift. This is a systematic shift where doctors have gone from sole practitioners, or several of them grouped together, right? You would go to the doctor, you know, foot doctor or the internist or just your general doctor, and they would either be sole practitioners or there'd be three of them that joined some kind of an LLC or something. Now 60% are working for the hospitals. What drove that?
You know, a big part of it really was Obamacare. I mean, just could not operate under that system. And, you know, at the end, what we're calling basically, and this term's kind of been thrown around a little bit before, but we like this term, it's called Brexit, right? I mean, what's going to end up happening, Medicare for all or the single payer option passes, you know, Democrats take control, doctors are just going to be like, you know what, we're out of this, right? It's just, they can't make things work for themselves, so they're just going to become, again, payroll physicians. And so what's going to happen, if you even look, John, right now at medical schools and how they're teaching medical schools, the idea of owning your own practice, for example, right, of owning your own office, your own business. Because remember, a lot of these independent physicians, they're small business owners, right, just like you and I have been, right? They're small business owners as well, right? And they just can't afford to stay in business, right? So they are just becoming payroll physicians. And so we're going to see this Brexit happen where you're just not going to have them anymore, right? And guess what it ends up sacrificing? The patient-doctor relationship that moms at home value so much, right? That's just going to go away because at the end, they're not going to be able to do that because the bureaucrats are going to be in there, right in there with an examination room. They're the ones that are going to be making those healthcare decisions for you, not your doctor, not you, right? So we're basically saying, look, this is your wallet, your choice. Get these bureaucrats and the lobbyists out of that examination room and allow that patient-doctor relationship to be repaired, restored, and improved through great ideas like telemedicine, for example. I mentioned to you last time I was on your show, great opportunity to be able to use technologies, for example, to be able to bring down costs and improve access for all of America.
You know, what you said, too, before, Alfredo, was very interesting, and I hadn't really considered this. You said if 60% of doctors are working for a hospital, and the way they're working, it's not like they're renting space. They're employees of the hospital. Like they get a paycheck, right?
Right. Yep.
So this is interesting what you just said. You said if you're working for the hospital, you're getting a paycheck, you know, $250,000, whatever it is. Who are you going to be advocating for? Your patient or your employer that's paying you? I mean, I never really. I think you said that, or Elaine might have said that, and it kind of flew over my head. But I was just thinking about that as you said it, and I'm like, I hadn't really considered that you're going to go to a doctor, which is paid by a hospital. You know, hospitals are, most of them, in business to make a profit. And so what's the advocacy going to be? It's not like the relationship you had with the sole practitioner or the group. You know, now it's with their employer, right? Because before I went to the doctor, I paid my doctor, I was his client, right? I was his patient and his client.
Right.
Now I go to the doctor, I'm the hospital's client. He's an employee, right? I mean, I'm not putting the whole thing down. I'm just saying you have to think about it differently. Yeah,
no, and I'll tell you that there are many physicians, what I call payroll physicians out there that are frustrated with that fact. But frankly, they almost had no choice. Many of these doctors that had started off couldn't stay in business because of Obamacare, right, and had to close down their practices, moved over to that payroll physician. They had no choice. They're so frustrated, though. They're disappointed. And frankly, a lot of them have told us that, look, I mean, we're about the Hippocratic oath. I can never pronounce that. Sorry, John. But, it's so critical for them to believe that. And they're just saying, you know what, that's why we're almost thinking we should just get out of this, right? Because we just, we can't sit here and advocate for things that aren't in the patient's best interest or in the hospital's best interest because they're my employer.
You got it.
And so this is a real issue, John, and the fact that business schools, for example, medical schools aren't even talking about, how do you, maybe go into practice for yourself? I mean, that they have more classes about coding, right, than they are about talking to your patient. I mean, we also want to run an ad, for example, John. I know you and I always love talking about ads, where all you see for the entire 30 seconds is the back of the head, because that's pretty much what patients are looking at now. It's the back of the head of a doctor, because all they're doing is working on inputting their codes.
The paperwork, coding paperwork. I tell you what, I love what you guys have done. I want to direct our audience go to. I'm sorry, I want to be sure I screw this up.
Yeah,
healthcareforyou.com. Go to healthcareforyou.com and check it out. Put your stories on there. Go to healthcareforyou.com. Alfredo Ortiz, President, CEO, Job Creators Network. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John. Have a great one.